Welcome everyone. Andrew, Dean Martin. I'm probably the only person in the room that knows who Dean Martin is. I'm sure you're all probably more familiar with Chris Martin from Coldplay. But it was interesting, the little exercise that you went through on your app. The question being, who are you? Why did you come? That is actually so key to what I'm going to talk about, because what that exercise was doing, of course, was collecting data. Collecting data about you, your preferences, your purpose, your reason. Now data, if that data is collected and sits on a drive and nothing's done with it, that's what I call dumb data. And part of what I'm going to talk about today is how we use data to drive our businesses and ultimately help other businesses help their customers. And of course, I'm going to do it very much from a CoreLogic perspective. And I think I'm kind of well qualified to speak about data because our business actually consumes $100 billion data decision points every day to value 41 million properties across Australia, New Zealand and the United Kingdom. But of course there's more. I'm part of a very large global organisation with the mothership being in America. And before that I was a banker, and before that a lawyer, and then a barrister, but don't hold those things against me. What was your morning like? So I got out of bed, I looked at my Facebook feed, and a whole lot of curated advertisements were coming down my Facebook feed. Advertisements for shows, for shoes, of course, clothing, entertainment. And I'm thinking, how do they know so much about me? You know, how is it so relevant to what I do? I have breakfast, I get on the news app, and I'm getting a whole feed of curated news feeds that, not everything, but they're just very customised to what I'm familiar to, what I want to read. I go to the fridge, I drain the rest of the milk, I have some coffee, there's no coffee beans left. They've already been, because everything is connected by the Internet of Things, they've been captured as low stock and put onto my digital shopping order. So it is, you know, data, you're probably not even aware of it, but everything we do, we're leaving what I call data exhaust. And it's getting picked up and it's being transformed and used to make our lives easier. But just to go through a little bit more about the theme. It's, you know, vast, versatile and valuable data, and because we're in the season, vivid, of course. But you'll know a lot of this stuff, but we'll just go through. It's impacting every single aspect of our lives, whether our personal lives, but also our professional lives and our corporate life. Customised entertainment. What's the king or the queen of customised entertainment? Netflix. You don't even know, but as you are watching Netflix and even flicking through your choices, it is creating a stable of curated material for you. And guess what? More than that, you are actually channeling Martin Scorsese, because Netflix are using those preferences to make more of the types of movies that you want to see. Improved health and safety. With the advent of digitised health records now, organisations and governments early on this journey are starting to use that information to either change education systems, prescribe preventative measures to make sure that we as a society are healthier. Relationships, I quite like this one. Of course, all the dating sites, apps and platforms use the data of the participants to create the perfect match. I haven't been on any of these dating sites for 30 years because I've been married. OkCupid has discovered that you're a more attractive mate if you are 2 inches taller in height and you have a salary that's 20% above the average wage. So they're using these data to match and get better matches. Travel and transport, we won't talk about those, but big data and big machines. I don't know if anyone works in a mining organisation or in a logistics company or even an airline. But now all machinery, of course, when we fly, you often hear that the captain actually doesn't even need to be in the cockpit. Everything's being done, but every single component of large machines, think trains, planes, diggers, they're all being, every component is spewing off data, but it's being captured to either reorder parts, stop the machine when it needs more maintenance, stop the machine when it is fatiguing. So, these are definitely examples of data for good and shopping, of course. But need I say any more about how shopping, how your online preferences are used to create and serve you and target you with more of what you like. And security. Increasingly, crime-ridden neighbourhoods, crime rates, crime statistics are being used by police departments and governments to be able to proactively and preemptively knowing where the more dangerous neighbourhoods are, where there's particular spots of vandalism or break-ins, put more police on the beat in a particular area, do more neighbourhood watch, etc. So really everyday examples where it's pervasive. It's happening all around us to the extent where it's becoming now going into the visceral and the subconscious. But I think it's really important, and something that in my business and in yours businesses is that, not only is data dumb unless you know what purpose you're going to use it and you've got the means to be able to harvest and harness and capture it, but there's a whole ecosystem that sits around data. You can't just hire a few data scientists and plunk them in your business and say, hey, go track data and get it and target customers. I mean, that's sort of grade one. It actually, data really comes alive and really ignites value in business when it's got all of these traits built around it. You've got to have a data-led strategy. I mean, you've got to understand what value you want from data, how you're going to use it, and it's got to immerse your strategy. Your culture has to be data-led. So simply, at its simplest level, what that means is that you've got to have people in your business that understand the power of data, that aren't resistant to the power of data. Definitely, I'll talk a tiny bit about governance, access and quality. There's data for good and data for evil, and I think this is an area that's certainly growing in scrutiny. Technology and tools, you've got to be able to deliver data. You can't capture all data and then use it by delivering it in a paper file. I mean, we deliver most of our data to our customers through our solutions through API technology. So, it comes in via digital corridors, it goes out by digital corridors. And integration and adoption. Data, again, on its own is pretty useless. It's when it's aggregated, when it's aggregated, when it's enhanced, that's when you get the true value of data. Okay, a little bit about what we do. I said at the outset, we use data. We capture data, it can be value. It can be attributes of homes, it can be history of homes, it can be inhabitants of homes on a singular level, on a street, on a suburb, on a geography, on a country, on a continent. We look at the value of particular components in a home because we have insurance workflow businesses. But you must think, God, how do they capture 1 billion points of data every day? no, we don't have armies and armies of people doing this. We've been using machine learning, robotics and artificial intelligence in our business for many, many years, because if we didn't, I'd have half a million people on the books. Data businesses are very, very lean businesses because not only are they digitally harvested, digitally delivered, but also we have to use these tools. And machine learning, there's sort of a lot of mystery and folklore around it, but broadly, what is it? It's any computer program that can do some amount of learning by itself without being explicitly programmed by a human. A pretty dry slide there, but the way we do it is that we train. I'll just have a look at I can see the picture there, is that we will by human hand, if you like, harvest a whole lot of images, and we will know that when an image looks like it does, it will have certain attributes. It'll have a certain roof profile. It'll have a certain street frontage, etc. We then use the human intelligence and we program that into a machine to say that if it looks like this, then it's sure to have this, this, and that. And then we also apply some robotics that spits out exceptions. And then we put human hands and human brains on that. So we've taken processes that used to take 6 weeks are now taking 2.5 hours. So it is an enormous value to, I believe, any business. And as a banker, when I came from banking 3 years ago, we had no machine learning in our business. But if I went back into banking today, I think I could operationalise or roboticize or machine learn so many of the processes in banking with a higher degree of accuracy and certainly have a better customer experience, because I'd save a lot of time, but also save a lot of money for the organisation. Back to my breakfast table, the home. We talk about smart televisions, smart TVs. In a few short years, say 2030, your home will it will be a heat-seeking missile of data. Voice enabled. You'll be able to go around many devices in your home and command. Most of you probably got the likes of Alexa about command. Turn the lights up, turn them on, put the air conditioning on. So because your home is going to be part of the ecosystem of the Internet of Things, it will be the platform or the podium to send messages out into your world beyond your home to deliver to you the services and the goods that make your life a lot easier. Now, for those of you who are the data scientists in the room, data as an ocean or a universe is compounding by 60% per year. That sort of, as a banker, makes my eyes glaze over. It's predicted to grow from 33 zettabytes in 2018 to 175 zettabytes into 2020. Does anyone know what a zettabyte is? Yeah, so huge. That was another thing about data. It's this whole new vocabulary that's delivered. Speaking still on the theme of the home, the smartest device in your house by 2030, and I'm not being crude or anything, I'm not joking. You can imagine if we today are manufacturing T-shirts that are tracking our body odour, wear and tear, when that shirt is due to become a car rag, sending off orders to Gap or Under Armour to reissue, redeliver that T-shirt. You can imagine in biotech what I know. I feel a bit uncomfortable talking about. Your waste products can tell you about yourself. That will be used, I have no doubt, to track whether you need to do more exercise, whether you need less carbohydrates, less alcohol, and that data will be going off to Fitness First, your doctor, your spouse, whatever, to again make your life a better and a more valuable one. So that's all the good stuff about data. You know, data, if used properly, harnessed intelligently, makes our lives easier, more efficient. Things we like are brought to us because, you know, probably one of the essential advantages of data, it enables service providers to target preferences much more effectively. But of course, there's always, when you can have too much of a good thing, and there's kind of a bit of an underlying current with data. So, you know, mastery or misery, intelligence or insidious. And we've seen, you know, even this week with the ANU data breach, I always joke, I've got a daughter at ANU, I hope they didn't see her grades, but it has to be handled, even though it is the world's most valuable asset currently, data. There's also, it has to be handled very, very carefully. Just flipping through, randomly chosen New Yorker a couple of weeks ago, just some of the articles in it: surveillance capital, frictionless trap, strategies for masking your data trail, data science, or basic gangsterism. And that quote came from an article about Cambridge Analytica. You can see in China, does anyone know what the Sharp Eyes program's doing in China? Just, you know, it's a surveillance program in 55 cities. It's collecting data on inhabitants to deliver what they call a social credit system score. And that social credit system score will be used to determine access to education, health, jobs, etc. So just that just got to be not careful, but that is where data collection, data harvesting probably goes too far, or can be used to polarise aspects of society. More a social issue, not a data issue. And then, of course, you had Cambridge Analytica, where behaviour, you know, consumer behaviours and preferences, as they, you know, graze over the myriad of apps we do every day. You probably know when you're using any app, a lot of the businesses that put them up put what they call app trackers on it. So they're seeing where you pause, where you stop, where you double click, what you buy, what you do, how often they come back. All of that's fine, provided it's used for the right purpose. So in Cambridge Analytica's case, that was used, of course, to be able to try and influence the psychology of voters. Again, a social issue. Some people say, well, what's wrong with that? But I just say that for all of you to be aware that, that as you're leaving your digital footprints over everything, that is what, you know, there's a whole prototype of you, or avatar, digital avatar being produced about yourself. In fact, I read something in that same randomly selected New Yorker. There was an article about how if you're about to apply for life insurance, start using fitness apps, even if you don't. Start creating a false digital avatar about yourself, so that when you go to apply, you can be sure that they'll be capturing the data tracking of you. So. And of course, these are just some of the headlines about data breaches. We've got GDPR, about, you know, probably one of the legislative efforts to ensure that the proper governance is around it. You know, what can we do as individuals, because these are huge global social issues? You know, I just say create friction. You know, as you use things, you know, make sure that you find out look at the privacy policy, look at most of the big platforms are very open and transparent about how they use their data. In fact, they're very open. They will tell you, we will use your behavioural data to sell to suppliers to help craft their propositions. So, I just say, ask people, eyes wide open when you go in, because every time you use data or interact with data, you're giving a little bit of yourselves away. Now, some people want to give everything about themselves away, but that's fine. But just be careful about it. The walls of data moats can be a little bit, citadels, I should say, can be a bit porous. Shit happens. Data gets compromised, data gets breached, like a lot of other things in life. But I think you just got to know it helps your life on the one hand, but on the other hand, you're just exposing information about yourself, and you may not be quite sure where it ends up. So coming back in our business, we're really, really, really careful about data governance and resilience, because if you are running a data business, trust is absolutely everything. So some of you might have read about LMW, which is a very competent valuation firm. Certainly, one of the 30 or so we work with, data breach, and executives have left, share price tanked, and it's a really, really big issue. That finishes my presentation.